It's Jerry Norton here, and in wholesale real estate, most wholesalers don't get good deals, not because they're not talking to a motivated seller that would take a big discount, but rather they don't know how to negotiate that big discount and create that big profit. On today's video, I'm going to show you how to negotiate amazing deals following a 4-step process.
For a limited time, you can get a free copy of Jerry Norton's Quickstart Kit with everything you need to flip your first house in 30 days or less. Download it now at myquickstartkit.com.
Step 1 is to build a relationship of trust. I call this BRT, build a relationship of trust, and this is absolutely critical. Write this down, build relationship of trust. What this means is it means the only way that a seller is going to choose to go with you versus somebody else is because you're their best option. Everybody in the marketplace chooses their very best option based on the information they have. Now, how are they going to choose you over any other solution? The only reason is if they gain certainty by talking to you. Now, that certainty can happen on the phone. It's a lot easier to make it happen in person, face-to-face. But creating certainty is giving that seller this feeling that you're going to perform, that you're going to solve their problem they're facing. That's trust. They want to feel like you care about them, like you're there looking out for their best interest. And they all start out with a wall. Everybody does in sales, right? There's a wall that's put up, and your job is to break down the wall, help that seller feel confident that you have the ability to perform and solve their problem. The better you are at creating certainty and showing that certainty to the seller, the more deals you'll get. If you ever watch my calls with agents and sellers, you'll see that I'm very comfortable, I'm very natural, I make friends really easy. There's a flow that's going on, there's a connection. You can feel a connection happening on these calls. Sometimes I'm funny, sometimes I'm serious, sometimes I'm empathetic, but I'm working with this seller in a way to where in their mind, even if subconsciously, they're thinking, this guy knows what he's doing, this guy can solve my problem, this guy has the means, and I feel really good about him. You'll even see where you'll get deals $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 lower than other offers. Why? Because they feel good about you. They feel confident in you. Now, this process of building a relationship of trust, this is ongoing. This isn't just step 1. I'm talking about it first because from the hello to the goodbye, it has to happen all throughout the sale process. And then it has to keep happening until closing, right? Like this is ongoing. Every conversation you're having, it's relaying that confidence, showing that certainty, helping that seller feel comfortable that you can solve their problem. The second step here is what we call SPF. This stands for seller names the price first. Seller price first. We have to get the seller to name their price first. Right, this is them revealing their cards, so to say. It lets us know exactly where the seller's at to begin with. Now, we also know that price is a deceiver. It often isn't the actual number that they'll take. Many sellers will start out with retail. You'll hear this all the time. I'd say probably 75% out of the time when I talk to a seller, the number that they give me is the Zillow number or the retail value. It's not any kind of a discount. But at least it lets me know right out of the gate where their head's at, and then I can go from there. Let's say that the Zillow number is $250,000, and let's say that I say, well, what price do you want for your property? And they say $100,000. Well, right out of the gate, I know that they're at a much lower price that they want than where the as-is value sits today. And I need to know that before going in and doing steps 3 and 4. I have to know where the seller's at, even if it's a deceiver, even if it's not actually where they're at. It lets me know, are they starting out at the top? Are they starting out in the middle? Are they starting out in the bottom? Where is the seller starting out? Remember the old adage, he who names the price first loses, because you could leave money on the table. That's the problem here when you name the price first. Okay, so we're gonna get that seller, name the price first. The third step here in our process is what we call LAO. This stands for low anchor offer. Low anchor offer. Write this down, low anchor offer. Now, what we're gonna do here is we're gonna come in with a number that's 2 things, ridiculously low. Okay, so this low anchor offer, it needs to be really low, so low that it solicits a no, So it's got to solicit a no. If it doesn't solicit a no, then you didn't offer low enough. Like the goal is that they say, there's no way I can pay that price. If they say yes to your low anchor, you didn't offer it low enough, okay? So we're going right down to the floor. We're going to the bottom of the bottom, and we're going to anchor there. Now, it's called an anchor because we're going to establish the bottom so we have room to come up. Okay, so it needs to be really low. It needs to solicit a no. And it also needs to be a ballpark or a range, a ballpark or a range. Okay, it's not a concrete offer. We don't say, hey, the most I can pay is $100,000. Okay, that's a very concrete offer. And the problem then is if we come up from there, then we lose integrity because we're dishonest. I can't come up to 110 when I just said the most I can pay is 100. Even if it's subconscious, we lose trust. Remember, the key to all of this is building a relationship of trust. If you violate trust at any point in the process, you don't get the deal. Even if they sign with you, they're going to shop you afterwards, and they're going to find somebody else, and they're going to go around you, or they're going to ghost you, right? This happens all the time. Why do people get ghosted? Because the seller felt manipulated, and then you didn't do a good job of keeping that trust going after the initial call or after the signing of the contract. Okay, so we're going to make it a ballpark. How do we do that? We're going to say I need to be in the low 100s. I need to be around 250. I need to be in the high 3s, right? So it's a range that gives you some flexibility, and it's going to be low enough to solicit a no. Then from there, we can negotiate our desired buy price. So this stands for negotiate up from there, negotiate desired price, okay? So how's this look? Well, when you say, I need to be in the low 100s, and it solicits a no, and the seller says there's no way I can pay that low, you say, yeah, that's my price in a perfect world. This is key, but how close to that can you get? How close to that can you get? And this is where you'll see huge drops. This is where you actually uncover motivation. The only way to really know if a seller's motivated is to put an offer in front of them and see how they respond. The other day I was doing some calls with my fast track students in my mentoring program and in our community, and I was calling sellers, and I was talking to a seller, and he started out at 250. I anchored at 4, and he came down to 475 right out of the gate. We're just talking. Like we hadn't even gotten into the step 4, negotiate to that desired price. I just said, well, man, in the perfect world, I'd be around 400. And he said, I can't, there's no way I can pay 400. And I said, yeah, that's my price in the perfect world, but how close to that number can you get? And he said, I would probably come down to 475. Went from 525 to 475. He did a $50,000 drop, just like that. Now he knows where I'm at 400, he's at 475, and we're gonna work our way. And hopefully, if this goes well, I can land at my actual desired price, which in this case, that was like 420. I need to be at 420. I think we could wholesale it for 450, 440, right? So that's the process that I was trying to go through. If you think through this process, I gotta create connection, I gotta build trust, I gotta get the seller to name their price first, I gotta anchor low, and it better be so low that it solicits a no, and it better be a ballpark. Then I'm gonna work my way up from there by saying to the seller, well, that's my price in a perfect world, but how close to that can you get? If you just follow that 4-step process, you will get so many more deals, and you'll get better deals. It won't be awkward. When you see me do this, there's nothing weird about it. It's not offensive. It's very natural, and it flows really well because I'm following a sequence. Now, a couple things. How does this work with agents? So this is really pretty clear direct to seller. How do we do this direct to agent? It's a little different because it's listed. So we already know that there's a list price. So when it says here, seller price first, well, it's listed for $199.9. Don't we know the seller's price? Well, sort of, but not really. So here's how I treat this differently. I'll say to the agent, I see you're listed for $199.9, but what number do you think the seller will take today? Like, what do you think their bottom line is? I'll often say that. I'll say, what do you think, write this down, what do you think the seller's bottom line is? Now, a good agent should not reveal that number to you because they have a fiduciary duty to the seller. That's the agent's responsibility, and I don't know, maybe what they say is in the seller's best interest. Maybe they have permission to come down lower if maybe the seller gave that to them. What they do with their sellers between them. My job is to try to find out how low can I get on an offer. So I'll say, What do you think the seller's bottom line is? If I come in with all cash, close quickly, as is, waive inspections maybe, right? What do you think the seller's bottom line is? So there, again, I'm just trying to get to the seller, name the price. In this case, agent, name the price first. I can't tell you how many times I asked that question, and it's listed for $199.9, and the agent says, I think they'd probably take $175. They countered a previous offer yesterday to $175, so I know they would take $175, right? Like, there we go. I just got down to where the seller's really at, or where we think they're at as our starting point, our step 2. Where's the seller's price at? And then I'll do the same thing. I'll say, man, you know, for this to work out, I really need to be at, you know, and then I come down to that low anchor number. Then I say to that agent, could you call up the seller and give him that verbal offer? I know you said there's no way they'll take it, but it'll only take a phone call. It's a verbal. Let's see what they say, and we'll go from there. Okay, so I'm still following the same format, just a little bit different because I'm talking to an agent, not directly to the seller. Does that make sense? Okay, now guys, I put all of this together in some scripts. I give these scripts away for free. Just go to freesellerscripts.com and you can download that for free. Okay, now before we wrap up this video about how to negotiate amazing deals, there's one question I get often that trips this all up, or it's one problem that I see a lot of wholesalers do. A lot of my students that I coach in my Fast Track problem, I see them do this, and they get hung up in the analysis process of negotiating and making good offers. And I did a whiteboard video similar to this where I break down why you don't actually need to do analysis. You don't actually need to comp the property, and you don't actually need to know any repairs to do this very well. In fact, the best wholesalers in any market don't do very much analysis, because remember, it doesn't matter about any of that. What matters is that you anchor low and you get it for the lowest you can possibly get it for. That's all wholesale real estate really is. But we need some key indicators, or we need some benchmarks. How do we do that? So one method that I teach is this really cool calculation where all we're gonna do is we're gonna take the as-is value and we're gonna establish the as-is value from Zillow, Redfin, and Realtor.com. I created a little calculator tool. You just plug in those numbers. What does Zillow say the as-is value is? What does Realtor.com say it is? And what does Redfin say it is? We're gonna take the average of those, and that is our starting point. Then we're gonna take a percentage of that off the top. That's our exit price that we wanna take it to our buyers at. Then we're gonna back out of that our wholesale fee. Now, in a typical type of deal, that's usually gonna be around 40 to 50% of the Zillow number. That's gonna give us room to exit the deal at 60%. So an investor is gonna wanna buy that at 60% of the as-is value. That's gonna be a good deal. That's gonna leave them room to fix it up and flip it. But my point here is we don't need to do analysis. This is really tripping up a lot of people. What we need to do is discover motivation, offer it super low. And again, how do we come up with that low anchor price? If you want just a super fast out of the gate, really quick number, you can just look at the Zillow, and if you go 40%, maybe 50%, depending on the price point of the Zillow number, you're gonna be anchoring pretty dang low. And if you get it anywhere around there, there's a 99% chance you got a good deal. Okay, now, further analysis can happen later. This is just our initial process to get us in the right ballpark. We have to frame these conversations so that we're not wasting our time talking to somebody that's not motivated. Because let's face it, whether it's 40% of Zillow or 50% of Zillow or 60% of Zillow, if the seller's at 100% of Zillow and we're having this conversation, I'm wasting my time. I've got to get this conversation going in a way to where we're gonna land somewhere down that 40, 50% of as-is value for me to then wholesale and make a profit. Okay, now there are sellers in the marketplace that are highly motivated that will take the speed and convenience of an all-cash offer for that discount. Your job is to go find them, and this is the 4-step process to do that. Guys, if you think this was helpful, leave a comment, say, Jerry, you're a flipping genius, and I'll see you on the next video.